Hey guys, welcome back to No Casuals. It's been a long, long time, but it is so good to be back to talk about some great fights that we have scheduled this weekend at UFC 318. I am Aiden Boyer, and who am I here with?
You're with Luke. I'm excited to be back. We had a long hiatus. I think it was almost 3 months, Aiden.
It was more than
Um,
there was like 4 or 5 months. It was
yeah,
way too long.
it was way too long. We tried to make stuff work, but we're back now for 318, which people will say what they want to say, but I think there's some pretty exciting fights on at least the main event. I mean,
And
the main
look,
card.
if we're talking about 318 as a whole, it's not the big name card. It's not the ranked fights we deserve. It's not what we should get as fight fans when we're paying $70 every month for pay-per-view. However, what I will say is that these are some fun fights. These are good,
Yeah,
exciting
yeah,
fights. These are brawls. These are guys that are known. We'll talk more about the fights in detail first, but first we have to talk about a prospect of the night. Now, look, I'll go first with my prospect. I got a little bit of a hipster take, I guess. I knew who you were going to pick, Luke, so we couldn't pick the same guy. You know what I mean? So I had to go with the man himself, Baby Hulk, Bruno Ferreira. Now, Bruno Ferreira has had a up and down UFC career. He's done well. He's got good wins. He knocked out Gregory Rodriguez, who's now almost on the edge of a ranking in his first win. He was able to submit Petrosian really dominantly at UFC 313. He won the first two rounds convincingly against Abus Magomedov before kind of falling apart in the third and losing last minute. But if he wins those last 2 minutes of that Abus fight, if he loses them and doesn't get finished, he's then only has two losses in the UFC, or one loss in the UFC, and that's to Rozaboyev. This guy's super underrated. He's going to be a future middleweight contender. He's super exciting. He's fighting a guy who's making his UFC debut, Jackson McVeigh, who is good, don't get me wrong, but is not at the level of a Bruno Ferreira. I've got this guy winning. I've got him winning by a first round TKO, and I expect him to have another statement making performance on Saturday night.
yeah.
Now, moving on to your pick, tell me a little bit about your guy, Luke. Tell me about Atebe Gautier.
Ateba Gautier, we talked about Ateba on the Moreno Urseg card shortly before our hiatus, and we saw how he had some of the craziest power at middleweight. That was his UFC debut. People compare him, the power that he has, to like a Francis Ngannou of middleweight because it seems like it's like he's every opponent that he goes up against is a mismatch. He knocked out Jose Medina in round one, looked pretty easy for him, and now they matchmade him against Robert Valentine, who lost to Torres Finney and lost to Ryan Loder, who I think have much less potential than Gautier. So I think they probably are feeding Robert to him, and it's going to be maybe more tough than Medina was, but still, I'm looking for a knockout probably in the second or first round.
Now, look, this is a great fight. It's one that I have underlined a little bit in that Valentin is actually, he's a good mixed martial artist. He should, even if he loses on Saturday night, which I agree with you, I think he will, he should get another opportunity despite the losing record. He's fought really good guys. Ryan Loder is very good. Torres Finney is very, very good. We'll talk about him more next week or in 2 weeks. Robert Valentin, though, is a guy who has kind of had a rough deal of the cards, and this is another guy, another great prospect coming through that is likely to beat him, to be quite honest. I mean, he's great. He's great.
Yep.
Gautier is a guy that I would have picked had you not picked him. Hopefully next time he's fighting, there's another big name prospect, and you could take him, and I can talk about Gautier a little more.
Yep.
What I will say before we move on is that we've changed our formatting a little bit. We've gotten rid of Factor Fake for this episode, and if you enjoy that segment, comment down below. Make sure to let us know. We'll bring it back. If you guys aren't messing with it, we'll keep it like this. Keep it a little more fast paced. But the segment that we could not get rid of, the one that is a non-negotiable here at No Casuals, is of course the iconic TED Talks. Now we've got Teddy here. Let's hear what he's got to say about 318. I don't know what fight he chose. We're going into this completely blind. Let's see it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to No Casuals, and of course, welcome back to TED Talks. It's been a while. I'm very happy to be back. So of course, we're talking about UFC 318 this Saturday. I'm so excited for this card, pay-per-view on my birthday, man. There's really nothing more I can ask for. So Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. That's the fight I'm talking about today. This fight is going to be a mental game, and the reason I say this is because Dustin Poirier is up leading the trilogy 2-0 against Max Holloway, and I think he is going to thrive in the way that he reads Max Holloway's game and responds accordingly. That's where I see Dustin Poirier taking the win here by a split decision. That's my official take, and I think this is going to be an absolute war. These guys are going to meet in the middle. They're going to have exchanges that are just going to be amazing. I'm thinking fight of the month, fight of the year. Who knows? This is going to be an amazing fight. And Dustin Poirier, the most important factor here is that it is his last time in the octagon. A man who's been in the UFC and done so many incredible things for so many years. And that's this is his last time here, and that's I think is the deciding factor. Is he's coming into this fight with a different mindset and a different drive, knowing that he will not step into the octagon again. He's leading the trilogy 2-0. We're going to see some very crisp, great boxing. I don't see much in the ground game, unless he sees the gilly, of course. But this is going to be a Dustin Poirier split decision, and it's going to be a war, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be the last dance for Dustin Poirier, and I can't wait to see it. So thank you guys for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys again. I'm Ted. This has been Ted Talks, and that's my take. See you guys
Oh,
next
that
time.
wink. That wink gets me every time. But that was a beautiful segue, Teddy, because we're going to talk about this main event first and foremost. Now, Luke, give me your thoughts on Ted's take, Ted's talks, and also who you have in the main event on Saturday.
Listen, I don't think Teddy has a bad take at all. The split decision, like it's a bold move to predict such a specific thing. But the first time Dustin submitted him in Max Holloway's debut, second time he won the decision. I think for the third time he's going to complete the trifecta and knock him out because we saw that Ilya proved that Max can get knocked out. He's no longer the unbreakable boxer that he used to be at lightweight. And yeah, I mean. I feel like Dustin almost has some kind of plot armor, right? This card is built around him. It's in Louisiana. He's walking out with Lil Wayne. Everything seems to be going for him. It's his retirement fight. If there's a UFC script, he's not supposed to lose, right? He's not supposed to lose on Saturday night. And yeah, I think he gets it done. I mean, both these guys are coming off losses to the Titans of lightweight. They lost Ilya. I mean, Max lost to Ilya, and then Dustin lost to Islam. They both these guys are and they didn't look terrible against them, right? I mean, Dustin had a pretty close fight with Islam. Max took Ilya into the third round. Um, so it's definitely gonna be a war. Teddy's got that completely right, but I think Dustin's gonna get it done and he's gonna knock him out.
So I almost have to disagree with you here because I think Max Holloway, right? He's only 33. He's not old. He's been fighting forever, so it's different, right? Aldo's only like 36. I get it. But I think the knockout to Topuria, I don't think that was Holloway's chin getting old or him regressing as a fighter. He's still great. He's still the guy that beat Jose Aldo. He's still the guy that beat Justin Gaethje. He's still the guy that beat almost everyone the UFC has put in front of him in the later stage of his career. I think that the framing of that's incorrect. I don't think Poirier can knock out Holloway. I don't think Poirier hits as hard as Poirier. I don't think his technique is as good. I don't think the way he turns his hips is as strong. However, in a sport with no happy endings, no man deserves it more than Dustin Poirier. No man. He's been a company man for over a decade. He's a WEC veteran. He's been doing it forever, and he's been so close to a title, so close to a full undisputed championship, and always been second best. And that is devastating as a fighter. So look, here's what I'll say: is that I think Poirier, for all of my personal bias, as much as I want this fairy tale ending for him, I think he'll get it. I don't think he'll be able to finish Holloway in the way you predict. I think he'll get a win. I think he'll probably get a UD, maybe 49-46, 48-47 in an absolute war. I predict this fight will be incredible. There are no Max Holloway fights that aren't. I mean, if you go back and watch this fight against Calvin Kattar, your jaw drops at the levels between a guy in Kattar who was in his athletic prime at the time and a guy in Max Holloway who's just clearly levels above. So this should be an incredible fight. I can see it going either way, but I've got Dustin. Okay. Now, with this card being a little shallower, I'm going to go straight into Under the Radar. We don't have any other big fights to talk about. But we'll talk about the co-main event first. Paulo Costa and Roman Kopylov. I'll start. Costa's obviously this known veteran, this former title challenger, guy who's been in there with Yoel Romero, Israel Adesanya, Luke Rockhold, a bunch of big names. Kopylov, on the other hand, is kind of on his way up. His only loss in UFC is to Anthony Hernandez, which is not nothing to be embarrassed about, really. We'll talk about him again soon. But this is an interesting prospect veteran matchup. I'd like to see how you think about it, Luke, because I have a pretty strong opinion here, but I want to get your take before I chime in.
Yeah, so I mean, we saw Paulo Costa's last fight over a year ago in June when he lost every single round to Sean Strickland. Roman Kopylov, a technical striker, I think he has the potential to pick him apart at range, just like he did to Josh Fremd, just like he did to Chris Curtis. I don't necessarily see a path to victory for the version of Costa that we last saw. If he has changed since then and he can close the distance instead of kind of stand back and just absorb all the punches like he did against Sean Strickland, I mean, he must have absorbed like 50 jabs in one round. Um, and if he's like that and he stands like that, Kopylov's going to eat him alive. So I'm curious to see how he's changed because it's been over a year. It's been like a year and 2 months. Um, so yeah, it depends on what Costa has done, but I'm going with Roman Kopylov.
And look, again, Luke, I agree with you, but I disagree with how you're framing it because I think if you look at that Curtis fight, there are paths to victory for Costa. I mean, Curtis looked really good. I think if that fight goes to decision, Curtis wins it, to be honest. And that fight got stopped with what, 1 second left?
Mm.
In a kind of a ridiculous stoppage in hindsight. I mean, Curtis would have won that fight had that fight gone to decision. Look, what I'm saying is that Costa has passed to victory. He can win. However, however, he is the least disciplined fighter in the UFC. He has no work ethic. He has no grind. He just gets out there, tries to fight, throws a brawl, does uses athleticism to get a win, and then he doesn't have any discipline. Whereas you got a guy in Kopylov, and look, they're the same age, but their way they fight is so different. In that he's so much more youthful, so much quicker, so much more powerful. I've got Kopylov by knockout here. I think he'll do similar things to Costa's Adesanya did. I think that's a better comparison than the Curtis fight. However, I think that is because I think Chris Curtis is probably a better fighter in 2025 than Paulo Costa is.
Yeah.
I think that after Curtis' last performance at welterweight, I think that's clear.
Yeah.
So I've got Kopylov. I've got him by TKO, KO, TKO. However, I disagree with your framing on the Costa angle there.
Then how could Costa win? What is his path to victory?
Costa can win by doing what he did in the UL fight. I mean, what he did in the UL fight was he just bit down his mouthpiece. He took a couple shots and landed a couple shots. Because that's the thing, it's in the brawl and the exchange. I mean, look at the Vittori fight. Costa can win there. He can show levels there. He's a great dirty boxer. He's a great brawler. He's a great mean, in your face pressure fighter. Kopylov is
Mm.
very technical. He flows really nicely. He kicks really hard, and he's not this one punch knockout guy. I know he did that to Brunson and Vera, but everyone's done that to Brunson and Vera.
Yeah.
He's a guy that he has. He's almost too technical. If he can get drawn into a brawl, he'll probably lose.
Yeah.
However, that's a big if. And Kopylov, on the other hand, to Costa is very disciplined. He's shown a lot of restraint in his UFC career. He never, when he gets an opponent hurt, he never rushes in. He never overexerts himself. I don't see him doing that against Costa. But if Costa can draw him into that, Costa can find a path to victory in the same way they did against Yoel Romero.
Yeah. I'm hoping we see that side of Costa because in the last, I mean, that was one of the most boring fights. He didn't rush in once against Strickland. He maybe threw it's got to had to be like under 50 strikes. I mean, it was horrible. There was no biting down the mouthpiece. We saw none of that. Not even remotely close.
No, nothing like it. I mean, he's lost his fire since the Israel Adesanya fight, simply put. So if we see a return to form for Costa, I can see a world in which Costa, the version of Costa that beat Yoel Romero, the
Yeah.
version of Costa that we saw before the Adesanya fight, could be a champion at middleweight. He could be.
Right. Right.
But that Costa is no longer with us. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. I'm not very hot on him at this point in his career.
Yep.
Next up on Under the Radar, we have Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. Now we saw Pitbull at 314 have a pretty lackluster performance against Yair Rodriguez. He had moments, but it was generally a complete, completely fell flat on its face. Dan Ige has been on a good run recently, but as we all know, he's sort of this crafty guy. He's not this guy's gonna punch his way to the title contention anytime soon.
Yeah.
Whereas Pitbull was almost on the verge of a title eliminator against Yair Rodriguez. So what do you make of this fight? Because there's obviously a lot of ways you can think about it, a lot of different angles, a lot of different paths to victory for both fighters, in my opinion. Who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of my more anticipated fights on the card just because I think Dan Ige he's one of my favorite fighters, and it's hard for me to pick Bellator fighters to win these days. So my pick is Dan Ige. If Pitbull wanted to win, he would try and shoot on Dan Ige, right? He'd look for the submission, but he struggled to do that against Yair. I think he shot like once. And if he continues that same takedown pace, Dan Ige is going to defend it pretty easily. I mean, he was almost going to get subbed by Lopez, but he did a great job dodging that. And I think Lopez is much more of a threat on the ground than the current state of Pitbull. So I also think do I think that Pitbull has the chin to take a loaded shot from Ige like Lopez did? I mean, Lopez had a few, but he still reacted pretty strongly. No, I don't think he does. This is another one of those fights that I think it will be a brawl. I know Ige can tend to make it like that. And he has such underrated power. I think that he's gonna finish him. I think he's gonna finish Pitbull.
Look, here's what I'll say. I was not particularly impressed with Danny Gates' performance against Sean Woodson. I thought that was an early stoppage, and I thought that
Yeah.
he didn't do great. But Sean Woodson's a very good fighter. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Pitbull, he's 38, and that's the end of the statement right there. I completely agree with you, Luke. I think that Ige, he's faster, he's younger. For once, Ige is a younger guy, right? And he's faster, he hits harder, he's better pretty much everywhere except for the jiu-jitsu. And I don't think Pitbull can threaten him with submissions in the way that he needs to. And I don't think Pitbull can control him in top position. So I completely agree with you. I think Ige is going to find it on the feet. I think he's going to find a shot, put him down, a couple more on the ground. That'll be it. And I think that will be it for Pitbull's UFC contention because, quite frankly, you see these guys in the UFC, they either boom or bust. Patchy Mix fell apart. Kayla Harrison's the champion. It's two extremes. Very rarely do you have a fighter come in from Bellator and they're like, okay. Like Volkov
Mhm.
was a good example. Like Bellator, he was good in Bellator and he was like okay in the UFC, and now he's going on a run. So, almost a decade later, right? So you see very rarely do you have these mid fighters. So I think I agree with you that Ige will get the knockout here. Next up on Under the Radar, Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Now I'm going to stay out of this one actually because I have messaged and talked to Oliveira. He's a really good guy. He's going to be my pick because I'm extremely biased here. However, I think he would be my pick anyway. Um,
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Luke, and then we can move on from this.
Yeah, I mean, I won't take too long. I know you're biased. I'm taking Oliveira just based off the recent fights. I mean, he just beat Sadnir Magomedov. He just beat before that he beat Ricky Simone. And Phillips lost to Rob Font, who I think has a much slower pace than Oliveira does. And just simply put, I think it's going to be overwhelming for Kyler Phillips.
Yeah, look, I mean, moving on my personal bias aside, if you look at their win quality, Kyler Phillips almost lost to Raulian Paiva. He
Yeah.
did lose to Raulian Paiva, right on a split decision, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
he lost, I think.
Which, look, bad decision. I watched the fight live. Bad decision. Phillips should have won, but it was a close fight. Oliveira, on the other hand, has schooled Ricky Simone, which is a very good win. Ricky Simone's on a great win streak right now. He beat Nurmagomedov through a broken rib and got a win there. What he did to Fernando Sopaj is next level knockout. You know what I mean? Like if you look at his fights in the regional, it's all these crazy highlight reels. This guy is not one to mess with. This guy is, in my opinion, this is my bias talking. If any human being on the planet can beat Murad Balasvili, it's Oliveira.
Mm,
That's a big if, but if there is one, it is Oliveira.
mm.
So that those are my thoughts there. Is that within the ranked pool, Oliveira is the guy. He's the prospect, right? He's the guy that's ranked and is moving up. Phillips was the guy, and if you look back at his wins, they're not that good. They're not that
Yeah,
good. And his losses are pretty bad.
it's true.
Rob Font's a good fighter. He can turn away a lot of up and comers, but if you want to be a guy that can beat Vinicius Oliveira, you have to be a guy that can also beat Rob Font.
You have to beat Rob Font.
And he didn't. And that and
Nope.
that's sort of my take there is that my biased total pick is Oliveira, but removing that, I think Oliveira gets it done anyway. I think he
Yep.
maybe gets a knockout, but probably gets a decision. Phillips is durable and quick. I think he'll probably first round be close and start to pull away in the later stages because Oliveira's gas tank is very good, and Kyler Phillips has shown problems there. So against the
Yep.
pace of Oliveira, I think Phillips will start to fall apart.
I agree.
So next up on Under the Radar, we've got Adam Fugit versus Islam Dulatov.
Yeah.
Fugit, I don't know. I should know. This is kind of my job. I've seen him fight though, so I can speak to that. Look at the odds. I don't know if we need to talk about this much. I don't know if you want to take the underdog here.
I mean, I'm assuming the odds are way in Dulatov's favor.
I mean, it's on the screen. It's on betting odds.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lock in, yo. This is a professional show.
Yeah, like, it's not like
It's
yeah.
not a contest. This is one of these shows where Dulatov is going to come out. He's probably going to dominate. I mean, he's gritty and he's tough, but he's not particularly strong offensively. And Dulatov is a finisher. He's a true finisher. He's Germany's best.
First round finisher.
He's a first round finisher. He's Germany's best prospect outside of August Magomedov, in my opinion. Maybe a better prospect even. I think the odds are right here. I just want to talk about this because I feel bad if we don't talk about Dulatov and his UFC debut and we're like totally miss that fight, then he becomes a champion.
Yep,
I think Dulatov gets it done here. I don't know if he finds a finish, but I think if he doesn't find a finish, he gets a dominant performance. I don't think Fugit has anything for him beyond his own toughness and grit.
exactly. Yep.
I think we have one more, I believe. Ryan Spann versus Lucas. Um, now,
Lucas Brzezski.
what I'll say, well, it's Polish, so you never know. But what I will say about Lucas is that he's had a really rough go of things in the UFC. I mean, he's 1-5 in the UFC, which on paper is terrible, but most of those wins are close decisions against good guys. He's got a couple bad knockouts, one to McParkin, one to Kennedy Nzechukwu, but predominantly one to Walter Cortez Acosta. But those other two losses are actually he probably should have won both those fights, and he has a win over
Yeah,
Walter Walker, who just dominated Nzechukwu, who beat
exactly.
Lucas. So it shows that he's improved. Opposite him is Ryan Spann, who's a light heavyweight. In fact, he's just a fat light heavyweight. But his power has seems to have translated somewhat up to heavyweight, despite the loss to Cortez Acosta, which again, not a bad loss. They're basically the same age, but Spann is going to be framed as the prospect in this fight because he's the guy that is new to heavyweight. It's the second fight in the division. Whereas Lucas seems almost like a lamb to the slaughter, but if you look at the odds, they're close. So what do you make of this fight?
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons that you are, I mean, you didn't announce your official prediction, but I'm going with Lucas. Um, and it's just, yes, it wasn't a bad loss for Ryan Spann against Cortez Acosta, but he looked terrible. And some of the wins that Lucas has are impressive. I forget the one that you mentioned.
Walter Walker.
Yeah, and Walter Walker's on a run now, and it's just like, yeah, I think he has impressive wins. I don't see the version of Ryan Spann that we saw beating Lucas. So yeah, I mean the odds are close. I think it's actually good to take I don't even know how to say his last name. I think it's good to take Lucas on this one.
I completely disagree with you, actually. I think Spann is he's
What
just
are the
fast. He's faster and he hits harder. And at heavyweight, that's all you really need. Like, because this guy, Lucas, he's not going to take him down. He's going to let him stand. He's going to trade with him. And look, if you're trading with Ryan Spann, of all fighters, that's one of the last fighters on the UFC roster I'd want to just stand and trade with. I mean, look, he's not that good. He lost to Anthony Smith two times.
Yeah,
But at heavyweight against a guy like this, where it's just a stand and bang kind of thing, Spann will probably win those. And his win over Ovince St. Preux is still very impressive. Still very impressive. That was just last year.
yeah. I think plus 190 is a good take. I'm not gonna lie.
I would take Spann at minus money here. I think that's good money.
All right.
All right. With that being said, we will bring our show to a close. We've been hauling through this, but it's been good to be back. We don't need to
Yep.
take up your whole day here on No Casuals. But what we will do is we will say that we'll be back next week for that
For a
Abu Dhabi
massive
card.
Abu Dhabi
That
card, a
huge
massive
Abu
card.
Dhabi. Even if the Pico fights off, it's still a great card. Don't get me wrong.
Which, by the way, just announced is gonna happen in Chicago.
Chicago. I wish I could go
Yep.
to that card, but unfortunately I cannot. I'm going to be in New York recording No Casuals. That's what I'll be doing that week
There you go.
because we are back. It's so good to be back. We've got hold on, official announcement before we go. We've got a sister project on the way, which will be us, me and Luke. If you like our personalities for whatever reason, but don't like fighting and you're still watching, we have a show where we're just talking about anything but fighting. It's called No Succubuses. We have a special guest, Nikita Jenza, every week. It'll be a really good time. It'll be us with no professionalism, completely off the radar or off the chain, I guess, as the kids say. We'll have a good time there. Luke, are you excited for No Succubuses coming out hopefully before the Saturday?
I'm excited. I think most of our viewers will come from our Instagram reel clips that we're going to be working on. So that just stay tuned, man. There's a lot to come.
Yeah.
No Casuals is back. We're back to being active. Huge card next weekend. Maybe even like on par, better than 318. Crazy to
I,
say,
I
but
would say better. I would say it's a better card.
there you go. There you
I would say
go.
it's a better
So
card.
a lot to look forward to.
Yes, sir. All right. I've been Aiden, and
It's been Luke.
we'll see you next time.